Welcome, everyone. October 24th, 2023, 7:30 board meeting. Let's do a quorum count. I can tell you right now, Jenna Weiss is unable to make it tonight. Selena and Jennifer are not here. Mary Ellen Walsh. Here. Microphone.
Here.
Ann Benefico.
Here.
Mike Clark.
Here.
Valerie Nelson.
Here.
John Cristiano.
Here.
Great, we have a quorum. Do I have a approval of the minutes from September 20th, 2023 meeting?
I make a motion that we approve the minutes from the September 20th, 2023 meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Great. Okay, in your pamphlets that Jennifer so nicely prints out for us, there's election of officers. I'm going to hold off for a couple minutes because Jennifer Savage and Selena are not here. I haven't heard from either one of them. Let me just, has anyone heard from them? Okay, I like I said, Jenna Weiss is not going to be able to make it tonight. So let's hold off and let's skip. We did say Barry Butlin, 7:45. So we'll skip. I'm going to call for an executive session after our regular scheduled meeting. Mike Lewis is not here, but you know who's here? Why don't we skip to Ken Gilman? Make it short and sweet. We need a microphone.
That's why I have the mask on.
Oh, thank you very much.
The main thing that I want to talk about is the roof and the proposals for the roof. We have 3. I've been trying to get a 4th. Okay, sure.
Okay.
Is this better?
Better.
Trying to get a 4th has been difficult. Roofing is the business to be in right now, apparently, because I've had 3 people make appointments with me and then not show. And I've had 3 or 4 others say that, I have 3 or 4 others say that they're too busy, that they can't make it, that don't want to do the job. Anyhow, I found out today that through the Westchester Library Association or whatever it's called, they have somebody who's talking about solar and who is also the person who's doing it. Thank you. Is also a roofer who will submit a bid. So hopefully within the next week or so, we'll have the 4th and final bid that you want for the roof. Other than that, everything is fine. We're getting ready for more leaves to fall, and then whatever happens with.
So when all the leaves are down, we have to have our gutters cleaned.
Absolutely, it's too soon now, but yes, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yes.
Perfect.
Right.
So you'll have the bids next month?
I would expect, yes, that the 3 bids are in, and so you wanted 4, so the 4th one should be in. I would certainly in by the next meeting.
Okay, great.
Quick question. Who were the 3 bids from?
One of them is that there are 2 people from, do you have that?
Did we get Perry Roofing? I see those
Perry, yeah,
signs.
no,
Perry.
Perry, not Franzosa. Franzosa doesn't do wooden roofs.
I'm only asking, I just got an estimate from a roof on my mother's house. It was a $13,000 difference.
Between one and another? Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Well, there are some people that just don't do wood roofs, and there are some people right now who don't do roofs, even though they're in the roofing business. They're too busy.
Yeah. Are we getting bids for like both asphalt and cedar?
Only I've gotten for cedar just to replace what we
Cedar.
have.
Okay.
We got an email from the landmarks. Did you all get a chance? So do you want to
Yes.
continue to pursue the asphalt bids as well?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah, he needs to know if we're looking just for cedar.
I'd be willing to go in front of landmarks.
With that for asphalt?
Yes.
Okay.
what I would need is,
I can go back to the
Yes.
people and ask them
Yes.
for asphalt
yes,
estimates as well. Okay,
excellent. And I'll work with Jennifer or with you, Ken, to get myself on the agenda for landmarks.
okay,
Okay,
yes,
for next month, because I'll do it ASAP, but they're gonna need quotes.
okay.
I mean, that's the first thing they're gonna need, square footage quotes. So make sure that they all have.
Asphalt will probably get easier. I can get caught because like someone like Franzosa was happy to give us a quote.
Yeah,
but
okay.
it's not-
So let's get asphalt
Okay,
and I'll put myself on the landmarks agenda.
okay,
Okay, great, thank you.
you're welcome.
Okay, Jennifer Savage and Selena. Hi, ladies. Okay, let's go back to election of officers. Oh, our finance guy. You know what? How about we skip? Just know in your pamphlets, there's election of officers. We're gonna skip because Mr. Barry Butlin's here. So if anyone doesn't know, Barry has taken over. He's our new financial advisor from Westchester Financial Advisors. Welcome, Barry Butlin. And he's here on a request from us just to have him introduce himself to us and to give us a rundown of these are our trusts that, as we know, are restricted funds. And Barry, as you know, our Schwab man, who had been here forever, retired. And we hired Barry to be our new financial advisor, and he's going to start taking over the restricted funds. So with further ado, Barry?
Hi, everybody. Good evening. And to everybody on Zoom. I didn't know we were on Zoom, but that's cool. I'm not sure that I have anything formal. Sorry, I'm not sure I have anything formal to say, but I know I was asked to come so everybody could put a face with the name, just get an idea of who I am and I guess what role I'll be playing for y'all going forwards.
So the two people that you've been dealing with currently is Mike Clark.
Yep.
And John.
And John, yep, I saw them on Zooms. Thank you.
This is as Jennifer. I don't know if you met Jennifer. She's our director.
Hi, Jennifer.
And Mike Lewis is our accountant.
Nice to meet you as well. Okay, well, very good. So maybe I'll just give you just a little brief intro of who I am and what I've been doing for 29 years and how I ended up here. So Barry Butlin, I'm a certified financial planner. Our firm is Westchester Financial Advisors. We're in Tarrytown. I have two partners that I've been with for almost 29 years now, all together, same guys, and all three CFPs. And we do full service financial planning as part of our, the work we do in the retail market. So anyway, I was asked to take a look at what you guys have been doing up to this point and understand that your former advisor retired or is out of the business.
He retired.
And you guys were looking for somebody new to take over. And I appreciate the opportunity to be working with you guys. So a little just status of what we're at, what's happened so far. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Not
So
close
if you
enough?
can't hear yourself, just put the microphone close.
I hear myself fine, but I guess it's the other people that don't hear me. So where we're at so far, what's happened thus far is we've established the accounts with our firm. We transferred the assets over that were formerly held at Schwab. We custody assets with National Financial Services, NFS for short. NFS is a fidelity company, so all the assets in your three different trust accounts are held at NFS, which, as I said, is a Fidelity owned company. So that's at arm's length. We don't self-custody assets. We can generate consolidated reports, but at the end of the day, your statements come from them. So you can always feel secure that it's Fidelity that's holding custody of your assets. I guess I was also just asked to just explain some of the different names that you may see or some of the players. Westchester Financial Advisors, that's our firm. We are completely independent. We work for our clients. We don't work for an insurance company and we don't work for a fund or other company. We work for our clients only. So Westchester Financial Advisors, that's our firm. We just serve as your advisor. NFS is the custodian. They hold custody of the assets. They generate statements. They do trade execution. But other than that, they don't serve a role as advisor, so to speak. And then occasionally you'll see also the name Commonwealth. Commonwealth is the broker dealer and investment advisory firm that we're affiliated with. Again, we don't work for them. technically, we're their clients. They're there to serve back office support, OSJ supervisory support, and also some investment consulting and so on. But at the end of the day, our firm, we are your advisor. We work for you. It's really that simple. And I guess we'll be working together with, there's 3 trustees, right? And those trustees are Bonnie, Michael,
And John
and John.
and
No,
Val.
I'm sorry, I'm sorry, maybe I misspoke. Sorry, the 3 authorized traders on the account are you 3, right?
Yes.
Okay. So accounts have been established, assets have transferred. There is one holdup, which I think my assistant Tina reached out to you about, which I need a little clarification on. I'm not quite sure how a portion of something transferred and a portion did not.
There's one bond that had a partial call,
Okay,
and so they're working as to whether they can release it. Otherwise, it's November 15th
Okay.
when the call finishes.
all right. So if the partial call occurs and they just hold on to it, then the cash will come in and subsequently we'll get the cash. Everything else is transferred over. There was a little cash already in the accounts. That's all in a high yield money market. Everything else is intact. I don't know if this is the forum in which we're going to go into any more detailed discussion about the investments, but I'm happy to at least try to answer any initial questions if you have any.
Just so some of our new board members, I'm sorry, that we all know that these are restricted funds. We'll talk a little later how I did as per the Wood Foundation Memorial, which is our biggest fund, is very restricted. But again, these are restricted funds and there's legalities to them as to how we can move forward and use some of the monies. We as a board, and I've been on this board for almost 7 years, have not used and touched these funds. We might want to revisit that. I think we've talked about that in open meetings, revisiting that. But right now, they have not been touched in quite a long time.
Right. And that was part of the discussion I had with John leading up to this, was how everything has been positioned up till this point. Extremely conservatively, which is fine. But really based on the idea or positioned as such that maybe the money was going to be used in a short period of time, yet that really hasn't been. We can get into a discussion of some of the complicating factors in trying to make repositioning. There is a little cash in each of the 3 accounts. I don't know what your time frame is for using that, but these are discussions we need to have before we start making any wholesale decisions on either sending money out, what they can be used for, or changes we might want to make.
Thank you. I just got access, so I haven't really looked at how you've structured things, but in Schwab, they were clearly structured because there are 3 funds that we're dealing with and they were structured that way. So is that the same now the way you're going to do it too? So I can clearly see which of the funds has what in terms of bond content, et cetera?
Yeah. So the 3 funds, as you term them, are actually 3 separate account numbers. So they are literally held in separate accounts. Obviously, what I want to make sure I understand, because I can't tell by the values, they're not all that different really, is which one is which, what the allowable use for each of those is, and the time frame, so that we can make appropriate decisions on how to invest it. But the short answer is 3 separate accounts, 3 separate account numbers, 3 separate statements. On that note, I know that Tina, my assistant, sent out an email to the 3 authorized traders that you each can have your own login to our third-party portal that we use, where you can see everything anytime you want, as well as sign up for e-delivery of statements rather than having them mailed. And they're there every month, and you can download them, share them, and to whatever extent you feel you need to.
Do you actually have the copies from the bonds and the attorneys? There's especially the Wood Foundation. I took home the folder ones and read it, and then we put it on file. It actually talks about, especially her fund, talks about how the uses, what we can and cannot spend. Do
Are
you
you
have any of that?
You asking me, do I have copies of the
Yes.
trusts, or do I have the actual holdings?
Copies of the trusts?
I think at some point John shared some stuff with me as to, I don't know which ones I have and which ones I don't have. And I don't know which of the three, the accounts are just have account numbers. They're not labeled Wood Trust or whatever the other trusts are. I might actually be able to add like a name, a sub-name.
That
on
would be
these
really
things,
good if you
which
could
would
add
be
that.
Good for everybody to know
Yes.
which fund, which account you're talking
Because that's
about.
how we always, because I know some of them are very restricted, some of them are less restricted.
Yeah, so I just want to make sure I know which is which, and I think I can probably assign some like sub-name to them so that we'll know.
Great. Okay, you and John can work on that. That would be great. Mike
Mhm.
has a question.
Do you want to use this one?
And we could also work with our independent auditors, because I know at one point in time, they had gotten those trust agreements. It's in their permanent file, so I can reach out to Jeff and, get those statements for you. And one of the other things that I wanted to ask you is, do you plan on doing like quarterly reports to us? That's what the trustees and myself, that's kind of what we've been, given in the past from your predecessor. So which would also, it would tell you the position, and it would also tell you when all these bonds are gonna mature and all that other stuff. So.
Okay, so as far as quarterly reporting, so this portal that we have for our client portal that we're talking about, which gives you online access, and we're able to give it 3 different logins for the 3 authorized traders. They can log in at any time. As I said, the actual statements, the monthly statements for each of the 3 accounts, again, NFS has 3 separate account numbers. Those monthly statements will be posted to that portal. They're typically there within 2 or 3 business, sometimes 1, but say 2 to 3 business days after the end of the month. Those are the actual statements. And then we do generate a quarterly report. I don't want to use I hate the terminology because they do call it a statement. It's really a review, a quarterly review, which will recap what happened in the previous quarter in general, like a market commentary. And then it will have all the details of the consolidated portfolio, what it started with, what happened during the quarter, where it ended, performance, and then separate lines for each of the individual accounts, which will include all of the holdings. So everything will be in there in the quarterly.
So tactically speaking, we got all the investments over in the accounts except for the one which we will settle.
Right.
And I think, look, the restrictions are what we can spend it on. It's not necessarily what I'll say what you can invest in, but obviously the state and the other rules are what we can do what we can invest in. And that's another area we're going to explore because, like you said, we're invested incredibly conservatively. So this will, we're going to look at that, look at our needs, but there's going to be a long-term play here. So hopefully we can open up the aperture a little bit and stay within obviously all the state rules and what we have to follow to get a little better, yield or growth out of this.
If I can add something to that too, though, just looking at what's there now as to what came over, and one of the challenges I think that we're going to face with regards to any type of repositioning we want to do is, other than 2 CDs, which don't mature, I think, until 2028, everything else are taxable municipal bonds. Now, you don't pay tax because you're a tax-free entity, but they're taxable municipal bonds. I'm sure you all know we're in a rising rate environment for the last couple of years. When interest rates go up, bond prices go down. If you're holding them to maturity, who cares? Doesn't matter as long as you hold it to maturity. If you go and try to sell them before maturity, you're typically selling them at a loss. And to complicate things or to exacerbate things, in your case, taxable munis don't trade a lot. They're not nearly as heavily traded as regular municipals because the average retail public doesn't buy them. So because they trade fairly thinly and we're in a high rate environment, selling them, it's going to be tough. We're not going to get fair market value in some cases unless rates move the other way. And so that said, when you look at short-term liquidity, there's a little bit of cash in each of the accounts from cash that was already there or bond interest that's come in. And so there's a little cash there, but if you look at what's actually maturing in the short term, it's not much, right? So if we start, and again, this may be more than we need to get into tonight, but when we start looking at repositioning and making changes, there's not a lot maturing in the next 24 months. So the liquidity is going to come from either maturing stuff, a little bit of interest, or we're going to start having to sell stuff one way or the other. And we may or may not want to take on too much of that, depending on how much we want to adjust and how quickly.
Okay, does anyone else have any questions? Don, anyone? Just so everyone is very clear about my position, I'm not on the account. It's Valerie, John, and Mike. I have made it very clear. I can recuse myself. I'm a personal friend of Barry's Butland. He does not financially hold any of my investments or holdings, but we are personal friends. So I will not get involved with Barry at all, except to be CC'd on emails, just to make that perfectly clear. Okay?
Yep.
Thank you very much, Barry.
Any-
Again,
any
you
any other
primarily
questions?
dealing with John, Valerie, and Mike. If anything changes, we'll let you know. In terms of people, and Mike Lewis.
Yeah. Okay. So aside from the 3 existing logins, there's things I'm good at, things I'm not good at. The login portion and getting a 4th login. If we can't get you a 4th login, obviously I can send you statements anytime. The folks who do have login can give them to you. Okay,
Yeah, either one of our trustees will send them or you can send them to him,
okay.
to Mike. Any other questions?
Anything else that I can? Now's your chance.
Thank you very much, Barry. And again, we hold elections every year, so we'll probably invite you back next year in October or November, okay?
Okay,
But
very good.
again, thank you
Okay,
and welcome.
thank you all.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
So next month, Mike Lewis, our statements, instead of saying Schwab, will say NFS. Okay.
Jenna Weiss just signed on.
I'm
Bye,
sorry,
Jenna.
only because you asked a good question about the statements. And
Hi.
I'm glad you brought that up. The assets transferred right after the beginning of this month. I wanted to actually bring the first statements because I know nobody had a chance to log in yet. They came in beginning of October, so there were no statements yet. I did bring, and I'm happy to leave if you'd like, printouts just of the holdings that are actually in the accounts, just right off of the NFS system today. I'm happy to leave that stuff with you for.
That would be great if you could leave it with Jennifer and
Sure.
she can send it to all of us,
Okay.
tomorrow, the next day. That would be great. Thank you.
Okay, made a couple copies and I'll leave.
Great. Oh, and then you can give a copy to Mike Lewis.
Got it. Okay.
Thank you. Okay, everyone, there is in your green folder, election of officers. Every year we do this after our trustees. First of all, Anne, thank you again for running. I know that you got certified, right? By the town clerk.
I got sworn in, yes.
Sworn in, yes. So Anne is officially now
Certified, I'm
certified.
certifiably crazy, but I got
Yes.
sworn in.
Certified. Certified. Okay, so Anne got sworn in. Thank you again. Welcome back. So here we have the officers who are present. Bonnie is currently present. President, Vice President is currently Mike Clark and Valerie. Treasurer is Mike Clark and Secretary is Anne. Now we all know we're running for Anne's job. Does anyone have a desire to run for any of these positions, or? I know this becomes an awkward, but is everyone, well, first of all, let's go through the room. Selena, or do you want to run for any position? Microphone is right by you.
Can I nominate somebody? Or is that, we're not doing that right now?
Is that what we do? Sure, sure.
Okay, I would like to nominate Mike Clark for president if he'd be interested in running. That's all for now.
Jennifer?
Not at this time, for me.
Mary Ellen?
No, I would pass right now too.
Anne? Oh, she has one.
I'm, if, I'm fine staying as secretary if no one else wants it. No, I'm not, I'm just, I think you can also speak for yourself if you want to
Yeah.
run for some. Okay.
Thank you. I'm going to defer the president nomination, but thank you for the honor. I would like to nominate myself for treasurer.
I would be happy to stay on as president.
I'd be happy to stay on as vice president.
I'm good.
Maybe we don't have to vote.
So then write the names. We have to do it formally. Write the names. There's pens. I have a pen. I could easily.
I believe I'm able to vote, right, on video conference.
Oh, Jenna has to speak. I'm sorry, Jenna.
Hi, no, you're inclusive. I just want to +1 everyone's nominations. Those will be my votes. You can, on the record.
Thank you.
Thank you.
As soon as you've written everything in it, yeah, Jennifer. B-E-N-E. It's right there. On her name tag. Okay, Mike Lewis. Not Mike Clark, Mike Lewis. You're here.
Okay. Start with the balance sheet. This is through September 30th of obviously 2023. If you could just increase that. Does everybody have a paper copy as well? Okay. Yeah. All right. So again, this will probably, this will be the oh, that's on the bottom, actually. In regards to the bank accounts, we have shy of $1.1 million. Made up of obviously the 2 Chase accounts and the 2 key bank accounts. Down $467,000 from last year at this time. But again, that you'll see how we've how the library has invested in the parking lot and et cetera. Nothing to really talk about in regards to the prepaid expenses that gets adjusted at the end of the year. And in regards to the Schwab statements, the total liquid and market values equal $753,227.50 at the end of 9/30. Comparing that to $743,347 as of 9/30/22. So a small, incremental increase based on market value. By next month, that will go away, and we'll now have the new Fidelity accounts. Let me see here. Like I say every month, in the big ticket item on the liabilities is the deferred revenue. That represents 1/12, and which is 64,000 and change, and that will go down to 0 by the end of the year as we keep revenue recognition month after month. And then in regards to the second page, the total equity is $1.6 million. which is comprised of the opening fund balance, which was on our audited financial statements, plus or minus any net income, and it happens to be a loss of 117,903.92, which you'll see on the following page. Are there any questions on this? Okay. All right, moving on to, let me see. Hold on. Balance sheet, oh, page 3 of 3, 1 of 3, okay. I'm sorry? Profit versus loss, a profit and loss comparison. So you have here you have all the income for the library, which is cumulatively 644,560, up almost $69,000 from this time last year. You can see, a lot of the ins and the outs. It's right now it's inflated because you have significant gains, changes in the gains in investments. That makes up a good amount of it. You also have interest income. Now we have, full cottage rental of, that's trending at $12,000 more than last year. So you have that. Then in regards to the, what is this here? Hold on. My pages are backwards. Hold on. That's all right. So these are all the 8,000 accounts are all the library services. When you go to page 2 at the top, the total library services through September is $93,066, up from 15,001. The total change is 15,127. So that went up significantly, but you can see, the ins and the outs. Children's programming is up 9,800. The programs, which is the 8,240, that's up about 5,500. So that makes up the bulk of the increase from prior year. You have the office G&A, that's up slightly, about $8,700 from the prior year, at about $108,000 versus $99,746. And you can see pretty much the majority of it was this equipment purchase, which is approximately $7,700. So that makes up the bulk of that increase. Then you have the properties and grounds. The total cumulatively is shy of 252,000, as opposed to last year at 334. Again, you can see pretty much the flip-flop between, the parking lot and the interior renovations. Also, there was the cottage maintenance that was done last year, and the major repairs and improvements, which was 20,000. So when you factor those few items, that gives you your significant decrease. Regarding salaries and benefits, go to page 3. That's up about 14,516 from the prior year. Again, when you have more, when you have a full staff, you incur more costs and, fringes as well. The technology, that's just based on the timing of the, of the bills. So that's up 9,800 from last year. And then in regards to the utilities, that's pretty consistent. 18,813 versus 16,685 with a slight change of 2,100. So when this is all said and done, total expenses as of September is 762,000, When you compare that with the revenue, which was on page 1, which was 644,560, it yields a net operating loss of shy of $118,000, which you also saw on your balance sheet equity. There any questions on that? Or? No. Yeah.
Just obvious question, did we switch oil companies? Because we saved 42%. That's the reason, 42%, great.
Yeah, so. Yep.
Great job on the passports. So that's like free money coming through, and hopefully with the pictures as well. Did you get the camera yet? It's working. Okay, awesome. There were a couple items here. They're not big dollars, but just from like a reclass perspective. So like telephone, right? If I'm looking year over year, Mike, it's like $3,000 to $600. Is that we're just putting it somewhere else, or was it another line like WLS or something?
I'd have to look into the detail. Yeah.
I know we're spending about 200 with Verizon, another 200 with the new phone company. And then on top of that is the library cell phone. So that's going to work out to about 500 a month, which is 6,000 for the year.
Okay, that's fine. And then obviously the programming increases we have is fine, but something like 8050 is processing library materials. It was almost 5,000 last year. Now it's like 750. Is that another reclass item, or did we change something?
No, when we did the remake, we had to buy all new containers and that kind of stuff to get everything to fit where it's supposed to go, and to bring out the stuff that was old and dusty and broken and stuff like that. So I basically just replenished all of our supplies that had to do with library processing.
Okay, so the 4,500 is an anomaly. It's going to be closer
correct.
to the
That's
7
correct.
something. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, very good.
Okay, so this is, I hope you guys have good vision plan. There's just no other way to run it, so we could probably zoom in on this. Maybe we could. I've tried in many ways to try to get this, you know. We probably should just, at this point, just zoom in. So to your point, John, with the forecasting in regards to the way these reports have been run before, you know, I would run it through September, but it would also just give you a prorated budget. So what I've now done is did the whole projection through December 31st. So you can see, if you maybe can scoot to the right.
Well, we have it in our folders.
Right. So the bottom line is you have the year to date, you'll have the year to date, you know, through September, but you'll also have on that far right corner, okay, to your point, John, you know, you'll have, you know, what the year to date actual is and what the total budget is. So you'll see it from a top level of how much is remaining in each of these balances. Some of the, you know, there's going to be, you know, budgetary savings in certain appropriations. There'll be surpluses in certain revenues, you know, so you can kind of see how, you know, the library is trending that way. And actually, this will ultimately feed in to the next item when we get to it, where I'm proposing a third quarter budgetary amendment to cover some of the, the overages with some of the surplus monies or, appropriations that are not trending, at the full capacity. So we can use those budgetary savings to fund anything that's over.
Just help me, Mike, here now, but for a newbie on this kind of chart, how should we interpret the red numbers and the black numbers here?
Let me just see that. Okay, so in regards to the revenues, this is QuickBooks, at its finest here. But when you see on the far right, you see for example, the interest income, 15,000. That means that that's a surplus. So prorated is, we said in that adopted budget that we were going to get $2,500. Well, at year to date, we've gotten 18,000, which makes sense because that's, we have, increased in interest, rates right now. So that would be a surplus. Anything that's in the black, that means that they haven't hit the target yet, so that's really what that represents in regards to the revenue. So, I mean, you still have another, we have another 3 more months of activity, to get to these, these budgeted targets. If you look at the appropriations, when you see red, that means that there's an overage. So like if you look at, well, you can look at anyone, but I mean, if you look at the digital materials, for example, so we spent $38. We never put a quote unquote budget in there. So that's technically now over, and so on and so forth. So again, a lot of these ones that are in red are going to be addressed in the budgetary that you will pull up for you in 1 minute. So that's what that represents, and then when you see in black, for example, payroll service, you'll see $50,000 versus 36,000. So what that really means is that we still have $13,000 remaining in that budget line. So you'll have another, obviously 3 months to, hit that target. So it's kind of like the opposite. Red is good in the revenues, red is bad in the expenses. That's just the way
I think this is good information. I think maybe next time we summarize some of this, because we don't need all these details in this format, probably.
It's just
It'll make it easier to.
That's just the way the system runs. So
Yeah,
I'd have to play around with it, but yeah, I can understand. Yep.
Or just grab the numbers off a spreadsheet, right? And just drop them into a spreadsheet, the totals or something like that.
Right.
To kind of capture.
But again, just to show you, this is actually giving you really real time, with all the quarterlies. So you can see, the trend analysis, from a quarterlies perspective too.
Yep.
So.
That's good.
But whatever you guys want, we can make it happen.
In 6310, if you look at October through December 2023, you have actual 64,000. It should be, I believe, 193,000 because that's a 3-month period. 64,000 is what we
Yeah,
get
but
monthly.
we're only doing through October. It's 1/12. So we've only done it through October.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions before we move ahead? Any other questions, anyone? No? Okay, let's move on to, oh, okay, I'm sorry, Mike, go ahead.
Oh, yeah, all right. So again.
This is, if you look at, so this is a budgetary that I am proposing for the trustees to review and hopefully approve tonight so that I could move forward with this and cover these budgetary lines. It's just being, proactive and trying to address the lines now. And that probably will do a year-end budgetary, before the audit starts so that we don't get cited for, over expended lines.
Okay, do I?
So pretty much just if you just to let you know, those are the on hold on one second, I'm sorry. On page 1 of here, these estimated revenues, okay, minus the use of fund balance is all the surplus revenues as of 9/30. So, and then the 130,000 is the bulk of that is really that's the savings account to make this budgetary work. That's really your investment in the parking lot. So that's where the use of fund balance comes in. So, and then you have on page 2, you have the increases and the decreases of the appropriations. So what we're doing is we're just taking anything that's in a bracket that right now means that that's budgetary savings through 9/30. And we're going to cover anything that's in a positive right now to cover those lines and make them whole.
Okay, then we need a motion. Someone needs to make a motion for the proposed budgetary amendment. Does anyone want to make a motion?
I move that the board approves the proposed budgetary amendment as described by Michael Lewis.
All in favor? Great. Okay, Mike,
Thank you.
now the warrants.
Yes, let's do the warrants.
Is this accurate or has there been any last minute $22,706.82? Does anyone have any questions on the invoices? No, then do I have a motion to approve $22,706.82?
Yes, I make a motion to approve the 22,706.82 for the warrants.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor? Do we need to transfer any money?
Today I transferred $50,000 from our savings to our checking to cover the invoices and salary for the next month.
Okay, so we need to always approve that in a board meeting. Do I have a motion to approve?
No, I thought Mike could do that. We had discussed that he could transfer funds.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay,
Yes.
okay, great. Thank you.
I just have one question about when I look over the invoices. Does the library have 2 credit cards? Because I see, there's the one the Chase Inc. credit card, but then I also see one where there's no charges that I always see Alan's name against, a MasterCard. So can you just explain the 2 different credit cards, Jennifer?
That's exactly what it is. We have 2 credit cards. One is Chasing, the one that we get cash back with that we use generally the most. A MasterCard was just something that we had from the past. We kept it for backup, really. I can't say any other reason. It's actually come in handy because Chase was giving us a really hard time with getting the backup document. And for a while we had to use the MasterCard because Chase just wouldn't let us in. So.
Okay, all right. Thank you.
Selena?
Who is the MasterCard through?
That's with Westchester Bank.
Oh, I see. Okay. Okay, got it.
Any other questions? No? Okay. Thank you, Mike.
Yeah, do you want?
Yeah. So, okay, Mike, so equity, diversion, inclusion policy and the proposed disposal of surplus property policy.
So again, when I try to, as I'm, in my current job, obviously, with the working for the county, we also work with libraries. And obviously here as well, and just trying to, broaden our policies and, these are good business practices. And this happens to be, and I think you guys had an equity diversion and inclusion seminar. So I didn't know if this is something that you'd want to, propose and adopt and have it as part of your policies.
Yeah, so I think this is just my perspective, and I did a lot of the policies in the past few years. And then just for folks that don't know, I'm in a compliance function in a bank, and I kind of own policies there too. I have a general philosophy that you should not have an excessive amount of policies for numerous reasons. The main reason is that means someone has to manage it. Someone has to update it on a regular basis. Someone has to know what's in the policy so we comply with the policy. And in fact, I can give an example here where we had a Schaffner room usage policy, and we have violated it numerous times, to be honest, because no one was responsible for it. And nobody was responsible to make sure that wherever their requirements were, we knew what they were. So I am like, as a lawyer, I am actually not a huge fan of extra policies because I've just seen way too many people get in trouble for them. And my philosophy is generally you write a policy when it's required by law, or when your insurance carrier requires you to write a policy. So you write a policy when it's required. And then most of the other times, there might be some others that you just need. So just personally, I'm not a fan of extra policies. And then my second comment is we have at least, I don't know, Mike, 10, 12 policies that are outdated that have literally been sitting around outdated for years and years and years and years. Yeah. So to add new policies to our list when we haven't even managed our other policies, to me just seems like backwards. Like I would rather us first start with the old ones, fix them, get rid of the ones we don't need, make sure they're up to date and accurate. And then we can go figure out if we need more.
So to your point, you're not going to see it tonight, but I am working on behind the scenes. I want to, the general municipal law has changed with their investment policy. So I'm going to propose an updated, because that is actually old. So I am working on that. I'm going to propose an electronic banking policy, and bring that to you guys. I just happened to see this because I know this is a big topic. I don't, this is just informational. If you want it, great. If you don't, then you don't. But the one that I am more interested in is.
Could we just go back to that, please?
Sure.
That's not a policy.
Yeah.
It's just a statement.
Yeah.
And a statement doesn't require monitoring or further work other than it's a statement of where the library stands.
Not so unlike the land acknowledgement statement that I know that my team worked on. So I'm not questioning the statement necessarily, but I'm kind of curious as to why it's coming up in the financial update part.
No, I'm just, again,
That's
I'm
totally fine. Yeah.
because I'm seeing, obviously this is not financially related, but at the same time, I've been, kind of with the task of trying to get, more policies, to be more compliant and good business, best business practices. It doesn't hurt to have it, but it's optional.
Absolutely. And I had the opportunity as part of my CME to do a DEI workshop. We have some work to do here in the library and in the community. And so I'm definitely pro this statement just to see how it goes. Then in terms of policies and how we do them, my concern is that we have a board that changes every year or 2 years. We have staff that somehow there is a turnover and can always use kind of updates. So my feeling is the more policies we have, the more things that are actually written down and that people can refer to is the better. So I'm going to work with Mike and I'll work with the board here. I'd like to see a lot of policies on things that happen here in the library.
I'm just telling you as a lawyer, the amount of people that have gotten in trouble for that is huge. When I read this, I see it's called a statement, but there are actually things in here that someone needs to make sure we're doing. Who's examining our policies, procedures, and practices to make sure they eliminate barriers to access and what does that mean? And who's doing it? The last bullet, leveraging our trusted position to convene conversations and build partnerships. Like there's a DEI committee in town. That's what they do. Are we doing that too? Like, so I just think we need to be really careful when we post things that say we are doing things, and we got to make sure we're doing them. And I can tell you from, again, what am I on, 4 years? Like we have examples of when we didn't. And so like, we just need to be really careful. Like, are we going to assign a staff member to be responsible for policies? Because right now we don't have a staff member. We have policies that are outdated. We have policies that are not accurate. We have policies we violated. And so like it's great to have a board member say, let's add more policies, but then we need a governance structure and staff to make sure they cover it. And like, we don't have extra staff to do that. So like, I just am cautioning us based on my personal experiences.
Yeah, to that note, and none of you guys were on the board except me, we did have a president, Miriam Schindel, who was a labor law attorney. And I actually am the one that worked with her, Mike can tell you, on our employee handbook. And because she was an attorney, and this is exactly what she did, we did revise a policy. So I can tell you they haven't been revised since 2016. Her fear was exactly what Valerie said. She didn't want to get so policy oriented because we do change as a board quite frequently, and we change staff. And at that point, we didn't even have a director. And so her observation was the same as Valerie, and she was an attorney, and this was her field of expertise. She felt like the employee handbook, that should always be done first. The policy should be updated in the employee handbook because that's what we hand new employees out. And to add to that, she felt, which until Miriam came on board, we were so outdated. It was years prior to that. So she also kind of felt like Valerie, and she was an attorney, that the more you throw into the handbook, the more you're responsible for. And since we're such a revolving door and we have limited staff, she just also cautioned everyone about the employee handbook and just said that that's what we always should focus on.
I think I'm not a lawyer, but the fact that we're not yet so good at something doesn't mean that we shouldn't do it. So I think that if nothing else, something that you were saying is motivating to do some work, because I think the library needs a lot of work with this policy. So thank you. I find what you were saying helpful because I'm not a lawyer, but motivating.
And to the point that Valerie's making, I think that actually begs maybe a separate question. And I know this is off topic for what you're presenting, but maybe we should look at all the policies. I know that there's a governance, like we've been doing that and we've been updating the policies. And I know that that's been a lot on the HR and governance committee, Valerie. But maybe that means we need to be prioritizing which ones, we don't want just like a policy for everything under the sun. But if this is in fact important to us, then we should try to prioritize it.
It was just more for discussion, conversation. I wasn't asking for, a motion tonight, but you guys can ponder with that.
Yeah, I mean, I just again, I don't disagree that we don't need certain policies. We absolutely do. But I also think we should be very intentional about what they are. And so I look at disposal of surplus property policy as an example that's in the folder. Following approval by the Board of Trustees, items may be sold in the following manner. First, you have to sell to local municipalities. Then you have to donate items to nonprofits. Then you have to, like, what if we want to do it in a different order? You know what I mean? Like now I'm oh no, I just violated the policy. You know what I mean?
So again, this is just conversation. You guys it's up to you guys to what you want to, put in. These are.
Jennifer, do you have a comment on something that was written here?
I'd prefer the flexibility of being able to fit each situation to the most quick and easy solution that makes sense without having to go through posting things in a municipal legal notice before I can give it away. That sounds like a lot of hassle.
Okay. We're going to talk about policies and stuff further down. Anything else, Selena?
Is there one more that you wanted to discuss? Oh, no, sorry.
No. So
But-
next
okay.
month, which I think is actually critical, is your investment policy and your electronic banking, especially now with,
That would be
cyber.
great. If you propose that next month, that would be fine.
Yep, no problem.
Thank you, Mike. Anything else for Mike? Okay, moving right along. Finance, John?
No update.
Okay, Mike Clark, governance.
First, just for the record to put in our current balances as part of the finance. Ann, could you just read that?
So, you want the total balance? Which one do you want to read? Sorry.
So right now we're maintaining at Key Bank $240,000 to keep it under the 250 cutout, and it's set up as $235,000 is a CD. That's a 6-month CD, and then 5,000 is just a checking. And then our main bank now is Chase. We have set up one CD, which is a 3-month CD for $350,000 to catch the interest rate of 5% there. We have a savings account for 410,000, which their savings interest is something like 0.1%. And then we have our active checking account, which after my transfer today has $69,000 in it. So in terms of the policies that we were to review today, 2 of them are patron conduct and unattended children policy, which really don't relate to the board and the staff so much as to patrons of the library. Jennifer, did you want to make any comments about these policies?
As you know, they're required by our insurance carrier. All of the other libraries have them, so we should have them. I gave you examples of what the American Library Association recommended, what I wrote based on that, and then a couple of other examples from other libraries. So I think you have all the information that you need, and they need to be in place regardless because the insurance carriers want us to.
So what handed me was these samples that are completed for the patron, but for the unattended children, that hasn't been completed yet. It's incomplete.
Both
hasn't been
both
filled
of
in.
them should be
So
exactly the same,
I
right?
think so. So, yeah, I don't know whether we need to actually vote to approve them or we
Did-
should wait until we get the final copies.
Well, I believe you have the final copies. Each one of them has the ALA version, my version, and other library suggested versions.
Okay, the one that I found in the
Let me look at one.
Dropbox, I didn't see one for the unattended children.
There's nothing for the Schaffner,
Is it-
but the unintended children with this.
Is the sample filled in?
Yes.
Yes.
Does it say?
So Jennifer, can you just walk me through the order? Is the first one the ALA, the second one, that says say sample is your version, and then the attachments are the other samples?
The sample that I'm looking at for
Yeah.
unattended children doesn't have our,
It says purpose, the library name,
right. Okay, so then which one is,
and then where? That's what I mean. We have,
Right, right.
I think that we need to fill it in and then we can vote on it.
like under unaccompanied children, says
yeah,
children
the
aged blank, like what age do?
Exactly.
Yes, that's what, so what I'd like to vote on tonight is the policy about the patron conduct. That's completed. It has an intro where it suggests certain things about the policy that I think we can get rid of, and just leave the what you filled in at the bottom as the final statement. Can I have a motion to approve the patron conduct policy?
So here, sorry, guys, I'm being really difficult, and I understand the insurance company wants this. I don't know what I'm approving. There's a format for policies. It includes when it has to be revised, like that's not in here. Like, anyways, it's hard for me. It's like, it sounds like page 1 and 2 I throw out and page 4 I page out, and I'm only approving page 3. And that's, I mean, we can do it that way, but we need to be really clear in the minutes of what we're approving and what we're not approving, because there's multiple documents in this thing.
You're getting your steps in tonight.
What I had in mind was I was going to provide the governance committee with all of the information that they needed to come back to the board with a completed document to propose. Okay, so maybe that's where we leave tonight, so that next time that's what will happen. And
Good.
that way the
Okay.
governance committee will submit to me the final thing that they want the board to approve, and that I'll put in. Yes.
There, like, I understand this is recommended, and I'm not, if our insurance carrier says we need one, we need one. But when I read the patron conduct policies, there's things like appeal process. Like, again, I'm being really serious here. Are we really going to have an appeal process for patrons that what we kick out because we don't like their behavior? Like, again, if that's what, like, if that's where we want to go, I just worry we are a very small library with very few staff. Somebody had, like, there's, in my view, there's no point in having a policy unless you're actually not going to enforce it and follow it. So, like, I mean, I can't envision a situation where Jennifer is going to warn someone, suspend someone, and kick them out of the library. Like, I just find that hard to believe. And then they're going to come before the trustees to appeal it. It also says patrons have the right to appeal a decision, but I don't believe there's anything in there that says what the appeal process is. So if you're going to say you can appeal it, you need to explain how they appeal it. It says they can go to library staff to appeal it. Do we have a list of what the appeal process is somewhere? Like, again, I'm sorry, I just have 1,000 questions.
And we just have to have a policy. They have no requirements as to what's in that policy. Okay.
I think these policies grew out of communities that are dealing with things like homelessness and drug use in the bathrooms and overdoses, and people coming in just to make the First Amendment people that come in and film you and then put it up on YouTube. That's the kind of thing, and we're very fortunate that that's not something we have to deal with. So, as John was saying, it just has to be a policy. It doesn't have to be hugely robust and deal with every possible situation. that
Yeah,
could come
so
down the road.
a similar situation. I run my husband's office. It's in White Plains. The building adopted a very similar policy. Their insurance company had to. Our insurance company made us adopt a conduct policy. We basically took 5 sentences and made a policy. That's all our insurance company wanted, because again, we're not dealing, thank goodness, with homeless. We're a gated building with a key entry and stuff like that. So that's basically what our insurance company wanted us. And I think it's similar to this insurance company.
This has been helpful. It sounds like everybody here has some great ideas about what the policy should be. So I'm going to pass these all around and collect all of your great ideas, and then we'll have a final policy.
Thank you, Mike. I know you work really hard on them. Thank you again. Thank you. I think that's great.
That also has editing in it, and so it's not a final document.
Okay, so Mike will report back to us next month. Thank you again. And I'm more than willing to share a lot of policies I have. Chapter room?
Thank you. The Schaffner room policy, I just wanted to suggest, can you hear me? I just wanted to suggest that we add the following verbiage at the bottom, saying that the person who rents the room agrees that they will not have more than 23 people in the parking lot.
So I had a question about that, which is, it seems to exclude any other larger event in the Schaffner room at all. Is that the
So
feeling you got?
referring to parking spaces, it's not.
No, but if
capacity
you start
limit.
at the top of it,
At the top.
I think it says that they will require that they will not have more than 23 spaces.
At the top, I
It
don't
says
see that.
Schaffner room events, maximum parking capacity, 23 spaces, no exceptions. Is that what you're reading?
Yes.
On the first document, Mike, I think, yeah. It's highlighted in yellow.
Maximum parking capacity.
So I thought that we should add commentary about the larger events and how they need to contact the town, et cetera.
Is this regarding the shuttle and all that kind of stuff? You want
Yes.
to add that to the use policy as well? I will absolutely do that. And then also, Selena had suggested that I make up a checklist for events, including such things as you're going to see up here, you know, the number of tables that you need, the number of chairs that you need, if you're going to be using technology as in our projector and our microphones, and if you're going to be doing live broadcasting and that kind of thing. And so I wondered whether this was something that you wanted to add to the Schaffner Room use agreement.
I think it's a good ad. It needs to also say, did you talk to the town?
Okay, so we'll put that in there.
So-
Okay.
so the
I'm just
last-
talking about the beefing up the agreement, basically.
So Jennifer, my understanding is we actually have a Schaffner Room policy. None of these documents are the policies, right?
This is what I ran across is the Schaffner Room agreement.
No, there's actually a policy, I believe, posted
Oh, as part of our policy.
as policy or
Yes,
policies.
it's on our
It's
website.
on our
It's
website.
on our website.
And it
It's on our
actually,
website.
it actually says that we will charge for the room use, which we have not done historically until recently. It also says that we will not allow funerals in here or memorial services, which we have done. And so to me, that's a policy that we need to look at and make a decision. Are we going to keep those things in it or get rid of it? Or do we need a Schaffner Room policy? We might need rental and all this other stuff, room use forms, but do we actually need a
Mhm.
policy? And if so, what should it say?
Okay.
Yeah, it's on our website.
Okay.
There's actually a short policy at the end of the rental agreement that we should look at because I think that might be kind of all we need.
Yes, yes.
That's at the bottom of this rental.
But yeah, we should take another look at it, but it's pretty short to the point.
show up on my computer, so
Yeah, so yes, that one. So go down to the last page of that. I think that might be, Mike, what you're referring to, because it says something about the number of persons using shall not exceed a maximum of 100. The use by a group of less than 10 is to be discouraged. Yeah, so here,
Right.
if you, maybe you want
So
to.
there's a policy and there's an agreement, which are two separate
Right,
documents,
right.
right? I'm sorry, do you want to go up or down?
I think down. I think folks want to see the policy. Yeah. Yeah.
So this is the one that I think the governance committee needs to either, I mean, obviously we can all discuss it, but should look at and decide if this is what we want to keep it or if we want to change anything in here.
Yeah, that 100 number is really high. It says up here that we can get 200 people. I don't see how unless we're all standing, you know, like this, so. Okay, great. We'll put it back on the slate for next time then, and but governance will take a closer look.
Great.
And sorry, do we know when this was last? Because you're saying that we've never like collected a fee and it says $60 here, et cetera.
No, when I first came here, we were collecting.
And then we stopped for a while, it sounds like, and then we
Because of
started
COVID
again,
or-
I believe.
When I
I
first
don't know
got-
that there was ever a not collecting. What I did not charge our local organizations
Right.
for it. I didn't think that it was appropriate to do so.
But
You know,
we
it-
should
it's-
be, but again, we should be clear, like, if the policy says you have to collect a fee, it doesn't say except for local organizations. If that's what we want as a commit, you know, as a trustee, then that's
Yeah,
what we should list.
Conant Hall policy for governors and Jennifer, on the town's website has a really good example of who they charge and they don't charge local, like Garden Club and stuff like that, Lions Club, they didn't charge us. So they have a really good policy on Conant Hall.
I'll use, yeah.
And then all policies should always have a date of when it was approved and how
Right,
long
that's what I'm
until it
asking.
gets approved again.
Yeah.
So you can go 2 years, you can go 3 years, you can go 12 years if you want to, but you just
Right.
need to be clear of what it is.
Well, also like $60 12 years ago is like different than $60 now, for instance, so.
That doesn't even fill up my gas tank.
I also think that maybe to avoid what you were talking about before, Mike, and even Valerie Little, like all the turnover of the boards and the staff, that maybe there's a policy of how often, each board is required to review the policies, right? So, every 2 years, whatever everyone decides, but so that it's just something that is on an agenda.
Right. Well, so the
Every-
personnel policy, for instance, says every 2 years, and the HR committee is reviewing it now. It's the 2-year mark. But it's one policy, but it's, the longest, it's, 100 pages, whatever. But that's the problem with having 55,000 policies, right? Because somebody has to be responsible for so at my company, for instance, we actually have a team of people that keeps track of when policies need updated, and they send out a communication to you 6 months in advance and say, hey, your policy's up for renewal. Like, obviously that seems a little excessive here, but if you have so many policies, you actually have to have some process like that, or we will be in the same position over and over again.
Ideally, there's like a table and it's all the policies, when they're due, when they were last signed, and then at every meeting or whatever, it's just at the back, and we just review what's coming up next, and then we can tackle it.
Agreed. Any other comments? Okay, I see that Jen is not on anymore. Am I correct? Okay, would anyone like to, public relations talk about it, or we want to skip it? Okay, let's go on to program development. Selena.
Don't have anything very new other than our favorite topic, the parking lot. I really don't have anything to say, other than I know that Alan, he's not here right now, but has dealt with some quite challenging situations with parking. So for what it's worth, I have communicated with a lot of the folks who had written in and with complaints. I haven't honestly heard back from most people, which I take as a fine sign. Like, we're being responsive and they can respond if they want to. But anyway, so we continue to have trouble with that. And I know that there's a lot of different opinions, and well, it's not even really that we have different opinions. We just don't really have a lot of options. So I know that it's challenging, but that continues to probably be the most pressing issue when it comes to programming.
Right. Human resources, Val.
Exactly.
Okay, we'll be in executive session. John, long range,
No update.
children's room refresh, Jennifer.
Yes, we had a pretty good meeting a few weeks ago and have some, new ideas and new drawings and designs. And I think right now we're waiting on some new numbers, right, Jennifer? Is that where we are? Yeah, we're waiting on some new numbers so that we can all talk about what to do next. It's going to the foundation, to get funded, or how we want to move forward, but really excited to show everybody what everything's looking like right now. So hopefully we can do that soon.
I can't wait to hear it or see it.
Drawing.
Thank you. Okay, I guess I'm next, the dreaded parking. As some of you were with me, thank you very much. We went to the planning board as an informal meeting, did not cost us anything except our time. Basically, they were unequipped. And I understand, because our traffic study was very detailed, 74 pages. I read it about 5 times. They asked some questions. The planning board, I was able to give them some answers based on my knowledge of what I read. Again, I'm not an expert or an engineer. And the planning board basically said none of them are engineers either and are equipped to read the study. So they basically asked us to come back and present a formal application with schematics. Now, a formal application means that we have to, our engineer that we hired for the traffic study gives us 1 planning board meeting. Clearly, anyone who was at that planning board meeting realizes that we're going to have a long process. So the article in the record review clarified much more what Michelle Rudolph, the planning board chair, said that was not said in the meeting. And basically, she wants schematics from us. She did say in the public meeting that she thought maybe we should hire new engineers. They did have a lot of questions for the traffic study that their engineer, what happens if we do a formal application is our engineer gives the application with the traffic study, and the traffic study is going to be reviewed very heavily by the town's engineer. We must pay that town engineer. That is a number that no one can predict. The last time we presented to the planning board, him or her, they threw us no less than 4 pages of very in-depth questions, measurements that our engineers had to take hours upon hours upon hours. So when I signed the traffic study, you saw the breakout of how much per hour. It's a lot of money. $350, I think, is the high, and then all the assistants and everything. And remember, when they come to the meetings, we pay for gas from their house. They sit there for hours. I mean, we were very lucky. We were number 10 and we got on front of the planning board in an hour, which was amazing because some applicants didn't show and some of them were not that prepared. But we've sat there last time 2, 3, 4 hours, and we're paying those people, the engineers and the architects sitting next to us all that time. So when Michelle Rudolph wrote the record review article, she went more in detail, and safety is going to be a big factor in our application. So I have 2 things. I did speak to Stephanie, who's chair of the foundation. She did go to her foundation board. They had a meeting, and her feedback, I spoke to her again right before this meeting. The feedback is very mixed on her foundation. She doesn't feel like, again, she runs by committee. It's not just her. There's going to be turnover in the foundation, and not everyone is on board of supporting us with the parking lot from the foundation. We, as a library now, really don't have the money, I'm going to tell you right now, to go in front of the planning board with engineers and architects. And the foundation doesn't seem willing at this point to support that, because they do have some members that feel if we have programs or longer than 23, we have to do a sign-up registration. And if there's other programs out there, we do the bus. We have evening programs, something where we exceed 100 people or 200, whatever. We get together with the town and do a bus. And other people felt like sometimes if there's movies or something being shown in the evening, let's say the conservation, that they go to the Poundridge Library, where some members of the foundation, not Poundridge Library, I'm sorry, the Poundridge Elementary School, where they feel that entrance and exiting is a lot safer. I'm just giving you feedback from what the foundation, again, I don't know all the players in the foundation, but some of them were not on board. So that's where we stand right now. Questions?
I don't have a question. I have a proposal. So
Sure.
wait for questions first.
Any questions?
So my kind of thought, well, I have 2 thoughts. One is probably not as nice as the second thought, so I don't know which one I should start with. The first one is that, you know, the information that was given to the record review was different than what was said in the room. It just was. Yeah, I know. And if Neil wants to go listen to the planning board meeting, he can hear what I'm talking about and what you're talking about. So one thought I had was go back on an informational just to the planning board and say, we saw in your note to the record review that it's very different than what you said in the meeting, and we're trying to understand what you really need from us very specifically so that we can move forward in the right direction and be aligned. I assume they'll get pissed at us, but because they've already told us we're done with informationals, but that's one option. The other option that I was thinking of was more like a outreach to the town, probably in an ad, because I don't think you can write a letter to the editor long enough, short enough to do this. But to basically say, hey, look, this is where we are. We know many people in the town have been supportive of our need for more parking, and we appreciate that. However, we don't have enough funding right now to cover what we believe the expenses are going to be. We know that the foundation, if they chose to, could fundraise and raise money, or someone in the town could step up and volunteer to raise money and support the library, but we can't fundraise. So we welcome anyone who's interested in helping us, to come forward and we can talk about it. But I feel like we have to announce to the world what we're doing or not doing, rather than just going, okay, let's put our tail between our legs and go back, and maybe in 5 years we'll talk about it again, which is kind of what we did last time. So those were my 2 thoughts. I don't know if other people have more.
I just have a question. The foundation wasn't interested in helping to fund the application or the whole project?
The project. I mean, I'm
The-
estimating, and again, this is, you cannot really estimate how many times you're going in front of that planning board. And that planning board, every time you go in front of that planning board costs, oh, I would say a minimum of $10,000 to $15,000. So that traffic study, that was 5,000 because we have to have engineers, and we're gonna have to have engineers answer their engineer, which again was every time we went from the planning board the last time, the pages were huge and we spent so many hours on it. So every time you go in front of the planning board, we're going to have to answer their engineer. And that's where the real cost comes. And every time we're gonna have, obviously safety is gonna be an issue. They're gonna want sidewalks. I know they're gonna want sidewalks. That's a huge expense because if you go down where our drop box is, we're gonna have to reconfigure everything. The other major expense that we're gonna incur is that our ADA compliant right now is our handicap is in a flat section. We're gonna, if we add more parking spots, we have to add more handicap. So then we automatically have to go across where most of us park to the side entrance. Well, that's on a slope. ADA compliant is you have to be flat. So that is a lot of building up walls and building up the level, making it level over there. And that's a lot of work, a lot of engineering work. So that's all engineering and architect plans and engineering costs are high. And engineering the sidewalk and the safety issue. They're probably gonna want a back entrance, which is gonna be cost prohibitive. Maybe we could get away from that. But that means going in front of the planning board and arguing our point that we don't necessarily need a back entrance. And we can certainly say most libraries don't have a back entrance because if you ever stand here in the lobby, what's the catchphrase? We got to run away, or and so that quite frequently our staff says that. So with a back entrance, you don't want kids running away. At least here, our front entrance and side entrance, the children's area, they have to come out. But if we had a back entrance, I mean, how many times, I mean, God forbid, we could have a kid run. So most libraries don't have two entrances because of that factor, just to let you know. And I've done a lot of research on that. And so did our driveway guy. They don't have a lot of back entrances. They don't have a lot of second entrances because of that, because you have runaway kids.
But we have two entrances.
Yeah, but you see this entrance over here is you have to pass the lobby. If we had a back entrance over there, you wouldn't pass the lobby. You could go out the children's room. You can go out that area, and therefore our staff who works at the front desk doesn't scream, we have a runaway.
So
And that happens quite frequently here.
So I hear all of this.
It's a steep slope, our back is a steep slope, so we have to do. Yeah.
That was what my teacher was. This, yeah, getting like other getting like offer those people but I think it's overcomplicating very useful. It's a basic schematic of this is what we're thinking, and then exactly this for the direction departments for safety reasons.
But I think at this point, even with schematics and everything, we just right now, we need to either fundraise or we need the foundation money. And not enough. We have roof issues now. We're a conservative board, and this board, keep in mind, though, that the parking lot would cost roughly, I'm giving estimates, but I'm probably not wrong, at least 500,000, just the paving alone and adding all the spots and the engineering and everything, because it was coming in at 750,000 beforehand. And now costs are keep going up and up, and gasoline's going up and up. And it was 750,000 beforehand. We did the lights, which cost us under 200,000. So that's $500,000. We don't have $500,000. We just don't, Nicole.
So
Not even close. I'm sorry? Yeah, over $1 million.
So I know everybody has lots of thoughts about this, and thank you to Bonnie and Valerie in particular for all the time that you put into this. I think that a lot of this is hypothetical, and a lot of it because we know what they're going to say, but because we know, we have a lot of thoughts, but we shouldn't go there yet because we haven't actually heard the exact feedback yet. But I hear you and I understand why. So to Valerie's point, and I agree that I think we should do something, and I don't know exactly what that would look like, but communicating to the public that we are doing what we can. And I want everybody to know exactly what we've done so that we can get credit for it, frankly. And because I want to be able to tell moms of young kids or nannies or whoever that we are doing everything in our power, and without their support and without the community rallying behind this, whether it's showing up to the planning board meeting or fundraising for us. If we ask people to fundraise for us, we need to give them a ballpark number. We can't just say fundraise, like that could be $1. So we need to really figure out how much money we're asking for and start there, because otherwise I don't think that, like, we're just talking in circles.
I would say, honestly, I would say it depends how many spots they give us, but I would say no less than $500,000
Okay, so
for
we can start
30
there.
30 plus spots, no less than
And
500,000.
if people balk, then at least they know and let them balk. I'd rather start there. That's my opinion.
Because not only are the spots, we have to do site clearing in the back, with all the trees and everything, which is expensive. We're also going to have to add more lighting with the conduits and everything, which is expensive.
Right. So, but we can list all these out somewhere. We all know that it's going to be a lot of stuff, and there's probably an endless number of things, and the list is pretty much infinite, but we need to communicate that so that people can feel empathy for our situation and help.
I did roughly give Stephanie numbers. I wasn't at her meeting. I do think that she did share some of those numbers. I told her the estimate of what the original estimate costs. Again, that was, now costs have really gone up. Materials have gone up. So Stephanie knew kind of the ballpark number. And again, there was some pushback from her foundation members. So
Those numbers,
One or the other.
I think there's support for the parking lot itself. I think maybe it's about the funding and the amount and so forth, as opposed to, but it was coming off as like they don't support the parking lot, but I feel like
no, they, you
from
know,
what I know,
member,
they do.
but some members don't. You know what? This is verbatim from Stephanie. I don't know if you're on the foundation.
No, I'm not.
Yeah, she said that there were people who felt that getting the bus was safer. That some people felt that making the left out of the parking lot, they didn't want to see the park. I'm telling you what the foundation came back to me. That they felt that making the left turn was never going to be able to, I mean, we can't reconstruct out there. What is. And so some members of her foundation feel like the bus and getting the neighbor bus is a lot safer option than having 25 extra cars coming in and out. I'm just telling you what the foundation.
So Selena, a question for you. And by the way, I had a solution to the no left turn, put up a sign, no left turn, and everyone can make a right instead. But it's pretty simple. But I guess my question, Selena, for you is, because I kind of gave two suggestions. I suppose there's a third, right? Which is start to spend money and know that you might not be able to do it all, right? Which is a risk, but there is a third option, which is let's go find a different engineer apparently, because they don't like ours, which is silly and weird, but it is what it is. And you know, give them our drawings and have them change it to 30 spots, whatever. I'm going to make up a number. I have no idea. Let's claim that's $50,000. I have no idea. And then go forward. I think the risk that many, and I'm going to speak on behalf of Bonnie and probably John, the risk that people have is, why would I throw $50,000 if I know I don't have funding already established for the rest of it, if for some reason we get that far, right? So there's just, right? It's like, do I save for the whole trip, or do I start planning for it when I don't have all the money?
No, totally. But I mean, first of all, I think that we should get to the bottom of the foundation funding situation, because if it's, they need more information or they need, a more, complete estimate, or they want to know exact, things like that, we get to the bottom of that.
Well,
because-
I
because-
offered to speak to a
Can I-
meeting at the foundation and, again, she wants everyone on the page. I think that's their policy. It's got to be, everyone votes yes. And so she doesn't have that from the foundation to
No,
proceed to go forward. She
so-
doesn't have it.
So I understand what you're saying, but I mean, is it safety? Is it this? Is that, those kinds of things? So then the next step, and I'm kind of agreeing with your third option, Valerie, is like, even just if it's, and I know we need to be fiscally responsible. I'm not saying we should throw money away, but even if it's just to, show the community that we're working and trying on their behalf. And if we go to, I know this was one of the planning board suggestions, and I know that it was a little bit crazy, but if we go to one of the engineers that has gone before them successfully before, and we and we bring them our schematics and we bring them what we already have and our traffic study, and ask them maybe to just, I know they can't predict the future, but maybe just give us an estimate of what it would cost for this application process, including, I think they asked us to come with a couple of different solutions, 30 spots, 25 spot, like whatever it is, and just maybe start there and get an actual number that we can then all decide what to do with.
I totally agree with you to a certain extent. At some point, first of all, I'm not as sympathetic that I think we've talked about this for years that predates us. So why I need to now advertise to the community that we're doing something, I guess that's an opinion, right? I think we've done a whole, a lot for this. And if we have to now prove even more to the community that we're doing this, I mean, that's, at some point we have to say we've done enough. We have to set some limits. I mean, we said this before, and we've already gone over it now in 2 different meetings of saying, like, look, we're going to go, go in front of them. I thought the last planning board, it didn't really move forward anywhere. I don't know why the planning board didn't tell us ahead of time that no one's an engineer on the planning board, which is ironic, but why didn't it mention that to us before? And then we can go, we would have prepared accordingly. But if we have to go down this road again, it's fine, but we got to set some limits then. Let's update the old schematics we have, if that's the easiest route, maybe, if we're just going, because I kind of feel like we have to check a box. My point about funding is, we said this now for 2 or 3 meetings in a row. Somebody has to step up. If there's no money there, that's fine. The other option to think about would be other grants. And I don't know if Jennifer, like the construction grants or something else where a portion gets paid, or there's something else out there. And that's even a situation where even if it takes us a year and a half to get the money, if it's committed, we could think about, something along those lines. Again, that's a little more effort too of researching all of that, but I'm willing to entertain that at least that's some commitment. But, the community has to kind of step up, right? They're kind of wishy-washy about, I'm committed, I'm not committed. Maybe if it turns into something real, then we can fund it. We're not going to explore that. It's not responsible for us to do it or spend our time doing that until there's more commitment.
Faye, do you want to speak?
I would love to. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Hi, everybody. I've been watching. This is so interesting. So I am a director on the foundation, and I'm just watching and taking notes so that I can go back to the board. And I'm not sure about this kind of side conversation that happened with our chairperson, but I don't think we've discussed the parking situation recently in a meeting, not since I've been present. So I will absolutely write all of this down and bring it up in a summary to the board. But I know I certainly have a small child and have been one of those ladies walking on the road. I think there are a lot of us that feel pretty strongly about resolving the parking situation. So don't feel completely without hope especially not from myself as a director on the foundation. So I will bring all of this up, but I think that a united effort could be pretty amazing.
Thanks. And I think the one thing Bonnie offered this, but I'll say it again to make sure you guys hear. Any of us are more than willing to come to a foundation meeting to kind of explain where we are and what we might need.
That sounds great.
Yeah. The other option that I'm not sure we've really talked about is that funding it in multiple ways, right? So,
Yeah.
you know, maybe the foundation says, yes, we can give X dollars and maybe a grant is Y dollars and maybe one of our funds can give a little bit more like there, you know, and then maybe, you know, there's less people who think there's some big donor out there that's going to give us lots of money. I don't, but anyways, but you know, but maybe there are other ways to do it. I think the challenge, right? The first challenge is if we decide to go back to the planning board with an application, there is sunk costs that you never get back. And to John's point, as a board, like we do have to agree that, you know, once you hit X dollars, like we then have to rethink what we're doing. And my guess is going to be some on the board that won't even agree with that idea. But I do think it's something we need to talk about.
Could we have the foundation fund our being in front of the planning board? And say, you know, up to $50,000 or however much we think just the application portion will cost. I mean, that I'm throwing it out there and then we can figure out how to commit or get whatever we need afterwards. But I definitely think that, you know, to the point of like, well, if we don't have all the money at once, like that's never going to happen. We're not going to have all of the money all at one time today, tomorrow, anytime soon. But we need to make an effort to say like, here, this is what we did. Okay. And by the way, to John's other point, I agree that maybe we just people don't know what we've done. And so one of the things that I would like to do, maybe it's just a phone call between a few of us, is Bonnie, you have so much historical knowledge. I want to write it all down and make it into like, I don't want to PRify it, but like a narrative that people understand what happened 5 years ago, what happened this year, what happened a month ago, so that people can actually understand. And yes, we don't owe like a press release about to show that we're a functioning board, but I do want folks to understand this is documented. We've done it all. If you have questions, go there. Anything else, come to us for more updated.
That sounds amazing.
I think that's a great idea because I think just like how we haven't been here, a lot of these, you know, young families that are asking for this don't know the history or they're hearing bits and pieces and they don't understand the full picture. So I think that's an excellent idea. And I think that, you know, to Selena's point, that's kind of where I was going with, if we can just figure out how to get some kind of estimate from an engineer who actually knows. And then we take it one step at a time and we try to go to the foundation for that first.
So I went back to Ray Beeler because that was our original engineer and he's the one that did everything. And he's the one that gave me an estimate of about $500,000 based on costs and based on what he's going to have to do. Again, our lighting is going to have to be expanded, as we know, conduits and everything else.
I meant the cost for the application process, like start
Okay,
small,
so the
one thing at a
the
time.
schematics.
You know what an application costs?
It's about,
Do we know?
so schematics was going to be about $500 to $7,500 plus answering the engineer, which that's the number we don't know. Again, it was 4 pages the first time around, just the first time in front of the planning board. And then of course the engineer kept coming back. The engineering
So
costs are very
$50,000, right? So
what did it cost the first time just for the engineer?
$20,000.
20,000. Okay. For just the engineer.
That was just the planning board. That was when we did a formal application. The planning board's engineer came back to us before we even got in front of the planning board and had us answer over 4 pages of questions, which our engineers had to do. And that's where the 20,000 came from.
So you've got 20,000 for their engineer as an estimate. You've got 7,500 for a schematic, and then whatever our engineer will cost to be in the room exactly and you're going to have the traffic engineer in the room as well as the regular engineer in the room, and they're $350 an hour. So again, for one meeting, the traffic engineer is covered. After that, you're going to pay.
But the other engineers, whoever does the schematics is not covered. Our architect wouldn't be covered. So they would charge us per hour. And they would probably bring an assistant. As you noticed, anyone who was at that planning board meeting, the assistants follow. I can hold up charts though.
I'm having a hard time following the breakdown, to be totally honest. So I'll get that from Selena. I'm
Okay.
sure you
We'll have
can
the
make
meeting
sense.
minutes. Yeah.
Yes, amazing, perfect.
Yeah, and we can put it in writing as well,
Okay,
obviously.
great.
All right,
Okay.
so let me just try to circle back to what the board wants to do next, right?
Yes.
Which is, I've heard a bunch of things, but I think one, the easy one, Selena, is that we get together, a few of us, and just write a descriptive of what happened. We can decide how to use that data at a later date, but at least to have a list of everything that's happened over the past couple of years. And then I think the second thing I'm hearing is obviously put together a proposal, for lack of a better word, of how much we think the initial application will cost. I don't think I'm yet hearing to then go forward with it. I think it's then how are we going to fund that initial application process?
I know the foundation has a meeting October 30th. So I would love to get that information to you before your meeting. If you want to present it to the foundation to see what they said, I'd love to get the feedback.
That's great. And anyone coming would be awesome too.
Oh, if you invite me, I'd like to come.
Oh
But
my
it's
God.
on- But are you in person? You're on.
We're on
computer.
Zoom. We can
You're
see
on
if
Zoom.
we
Okay.
an in-person one. I mean, it's very flexible.
Yeah, if you guys give me the information, I'd love to speak.
Amazing.
That's the other issue. Yes, the acoustic grant. Okay, so so let's just circle around with some of us will get together and write down the whole timeline, keeping in mind that this went way before my term on the board, believe it or not. So that information, I'm not exactly sure, but just know that Beeler was hired way before I got on to the board. So he's been in our picture, I guess, 10, 12 years, something like that, 10, 11 years. And maybe because we have everything now on Jennifer, on the computer, maybe we can access those files, which probably would be much more accurate than me trying to recollect, to be honest with you. Now that everything's on files. And so the foundation, you'll send me the information for our October 30th meeting. Valerie would also like to attend. And in the interim, we'll send you a breakdown of very, very rough estimates. Okay.
Yeah.
And now this second thing is we'd like an update on the acoustics.
This is my fault. I'm going to take total responsibility for this. I just had some questions just as far as like due diligence. I'm just jumping ahead. I'm so sorry. Did you want to speak, Bonnie?
No, please talk about the acoustics.
I just had a question as far as like, if there was more than one estimate, did you consult with any other companies? I am like a nut because I'm an opera singer. So I was just like wondering how the acoustic analysis was being done. Is it like a multi-use kind of thing? Or are we only looking at panels for like, dampening noise for meetings and things like that? Are we taking into consideration that there's music in the space? Things like that. And then I think another question that you might have seen, I saw Stephanie forwarded the email that we're just wondering like if there needs to be more panels or like how does that happen? If we're covering the entire ceiling and then it's not enough sound being dampened. Just questions like that, like how can we make changes? And then what was the overall intention of the noise dampening? And then how is it being approached with sensitivity?
Yeah, so I sent in the grant. It was discussed. There were questions. I sent back answers to those questions. More
I saw-
questions were sent back. And they're very detailed questions, stuff that's very in-depth that a layperson like myself would not have the answers to. We're going to have to tap into the professionals. As far as how many quotes we got, we sought 3.
Okay.
2 people were not interested in bidding, and a 4th just wasn't even interested in coming or hearing about it. I guess maybe because we're so off the beaten path, or it's such a small project, I had to do. But if you have other leads for me to follow, I struck out as far as I went as far as in a arc from us through Brooklyn and out to Philadelphia, looking for quotes. So they were just not very forthcoming. So at this point, I think I shared with you the information of the professional we've been working with, who's the general manager at the company that we're hoping to work with. And he's been there for 10 years. He calls himself a specialist in this. So maybe it's just a matter of us all getting on a Zoom call so he can answer your specific questions.
I think I think Jess actually spoke to him, and I think like if you guys have like really tried your best to get other quotes and other people involved, I think that was more just it was just a general question mark that I certainly had, which was like, how are we approaching this? And like, are we considering, just how the space is being used? Because there are lots of different events happening in there.
That's for sure. Yeah, it really does. It's multi-use space with a capital M.
We're like the place. We're the happening place. It's pretty exciting.
It's really one of the only venues in town that you can then use at least, for free or reasonable price, depending. But as far as answering your question about putting more panels up, if what we do doesn't, there is literally no other place to put them. They are going to be going on every surface that doesn't have artwork or infrastructure. So there would be no additional really option. We're even putting them in the columns up on the walls, the vertical ones. So I can't imagine another square inch of space anywhere that we could possibly put them on. So, and that's my 2 cents, but again, layperson.
So I guess Jennifer will go back to the vendor to answer these questions.
I'm planning to attend the event, the foundation meeting on the 30th. And again, I can bring the specialist with me to answer those questions because I don't have any more information than what I gave you. I did a very narrative heavy grant request and then followed that up with a very technical follow-up. I don't know that I have anything more to contribute. Honestly, I don't know what more I could tell you.
If Ariel can come, that would be awesome.
I'm sure he'd be willing to. He's very accommodating. Yes, definitely. Good. Yeah. I mean, he's got the expertise, so why not use it? Absolutely. Let me see if I can get him to attend. Do you know if the one on the 30th is going to be a Zoom or an in-person?
A Zoom. I will write all of this down.
Okay.
No, we don't have to have in-person meetings, but it is really nice to connect and discuss. But the panels sound like they're necessary, and we're very, very interested. I think we just had some questions.
Absolutely. I can even ask him to send us some physical panels so you can hold them and touch them and see what it is that we're talking about. But I mean, he went down to the details of these are going to be 1 inch and these are going to be 2 inch and there's going to be beveled edge and we're going to be using this material and everything. So again, I think I don't know what else other information, but if that is helpful, by all means, I will ask him to join us.
Great.
Okay. Thanks.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Thank you to the foundation. We look forward to working with you.
Thank you.
Okay. OEM, nothing to discuss. Technology, Mike.
I think this will be easy. Jennifer did most of the legwork and she looked at several different vendors in terms of moving our web hosting. I think that there was some charts in the Dropbox. And the short answer is that the group, the Cyber Optic Group, seems to be the best choice. And I'd like to generate a motion for us to approve the Cyber Optic Group.
Any questions before we make a motion?
No, just thank you to Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, Jennifer. I liked your the way you Selena suggested it. I like the way you presented it. Thank you so much. Yeah, no, it was very clear for a layman person like me. I make a motion to approve Cyber Optics. Do I have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Great, thank you. Vendor contract review, no. Nothing to talk about. New business. Jennifer, you want to talk about the Ichabod? No, we don't.
I just want to remind all the trustees who haven't finished their trustee education requirements that you're running low on time. And I put some stuff in the Dropbox. Oh, and also Google Drive. Did everyone have any trouble after I got the link right? Accessing the stuff in Google Drive?
Yep.
Any preference between Dropbox and Google Drive?
I like Google Drive better.
I like Google Drive.
I like Google Drive too.
Google Drive is free for us.
Exactly. Okay. Excellent. So if it's all right with you, Currently, I have to post every single document that you see on the website as a post, on the website, on the calendar, in Google Drive and in Dropbox. So that's, if I could get rid of it, even one of those, it would be helpful. So
Yeah, and how long have we been doing this two system thing?
the Dropbox thing was
yeah.
really all we were doing
Yeah.
until I decided that we should do Google
Right, but I
Drive.
think it's
But
been like
then
2
Mike brought up
months.
that it's required for us to put the public stuff on. That's why
Yeah.
I've been putting it on the
Yeah.
website and in the calendar.
So yeah, actually, I think it was I who suggested that we try the Dropbox Google Drive comparison.
Simultaneously,
think
exactly.
Selena has brought up one of the major points, and I think we're all using the Google. I would drop the Dropbox.
That is one, and actually all of the historic stuff from Dropbox has already been switched over. So I think
Great.
when
Excellent.
Dropbox expires, I'll just let it expire.
Wait, when is that? Do you know? Sorry.
I think it's in
December.
March,
Okay.
May, something like that.
Okay, great.
Okay,
Um,
great.
That's great.
Okay,
Okay, so
Ichabod?
yeah, get your education requirements done in the Google Drive. There's a list of the accepted education providers and a list of the courses that they give, and there's oodles of them, and a lot of them are recorded, so you can listen to them on demand.
Okay, and as we know, the Ichabod sculpture, everyone knows that was donated by Roxanne Wasserman and the Ichabod ladies, Connie Marchetti as well as Eric Wasserman. They worked really hours upon hours, the Ichabod sculpture outside. It should last for several years, weather permitting. So it looks great. Plaques for benefactor paintings.
Wait, Bonnie, what we're talking about is we want to add a spotlight to it for nighttime. That's what that under new business, whether it's maybe a solar light or just to put a spotlight on it in the evening. I mean, it makes total sense when you're driving by that I think it would look really nice.
I do too. Do we have estimates on that?
No. What? What, Valerie?
The spotlight?
No, you don't think it should be lit up at night?
Can't we just buy a spotlight and put it underneath?
Well, I'm thinking we can just put maybe a
Yeah,
solar,
but it's
a
fine,
solar light.
thing, but does it need like everybody to vote and stuff?
A solar light is not going to work there most of the time. You're not going to get enough sunlight on the solar I mean, at least it does. You don't in my house, like I had them on the walkway. They don't work because there's not enough sun. So I don't know. I mean, I guess get quotes if anyone wants a spotlight, but I just don't see it as, the most pressing business that we have. That's all.
Okay. I mean, I just thought that the sculpture is there and it would look nice to have
Well,
it
why don't you go and get
lit up.
yeah, get quotes. Get quotes
Okay.
from an electrician.
And I'll invest in a solar light, and we can try that in the meantime.
Wait, maybe we could just try one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes,
I don't think there's
Okay.
trees blocking over there.
that'll be a donation that should be listed on the.
Okay, well, Mike just made it. So let's take Mike's offer.
You have
Thank you,
one
Mike.
that you can, okay. Well,
So Mike's gonna,
we might need a few.
Mike's going to see if the solar. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, the plaques for the benefactors paintings.
Those are just little name plaques that we want to add underneath. That,
Yeah, I think
I think
that's,
Jennifer already got prices for those.
okay,
can we
great. Yeah, I
just,
think that's great.
I think we should definitely go ahead with that.
Okay, and the other new businesses, everyone noticed in your Dropbox or Google Drive. Ann and I went to the cemetery visit. I sent the appropriate information to Barry. Anything else before we do go into public remarks?
I just want to make one comment. I noticed on the list of committees, it's just Mike and me on the governance committee. And is that the committee that has to we're looking at all the policies? So I'm thinking maybe we need a third
So-
person.
So just know at the next meeting,
Yeah.
we're
Yeah.
going to bring up all the committees again.
Okay.
Everybody should be thinking about what committee, every trustee except the president should lead a committee. And every trustee probably needs to be on 2 other committees. So like think of which one you want to lead. You can stay on the one you're already doing, but you can also change it up.
And look at your talents and what look at the committees and what you're better versed at. Like again, Jenna Weiss is in public relations. That's her job. So it's, it's a natural fit for her. So think about that when you're looking at, okay, our committees. Yes.
The current slate was unanimous.
Thank you, Jennifer.
Congratulations, everybody.
Thank you. And again, before we go into public remarks, again, think about committees and Jenna Weiss is off, so I'll email her. I want to make sure that she
Can I
knows.
just ask about the committees? Like, are these set? I know we have ad hoc ones. Like, I'm just, do we need to sunset any of these committees? Do we add any?
So a couple of years ago, I combined a bunch, like I combined HR and legal, for instance. You could combine legal and governance as another example instead. Like there's a bunch of things you can do. We used to have like 20. So this was actually, believe it or not, a streamlined list. So, and I mean, like vendor contract review, you can put that under governance if you want. Like, so there's a bunch of things you can do if people want to recommend combining things. There's certain that we just have no choice. Obviously, children's room and parking are ad hocs. The rest are all,
Yeah,
long
like we
term.
kind of retired the interior committee, for example, and
right,
now it's
right,
children's.
right.
I agree with the vendor contract. We probably could table that or put it under governance or finance. So certain things like that.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Okay. Oh, that's right. Thank you. Next month, board meeting, I think Tuesdays are working for us. Jennifer, is Tuesdays working for you and your staff? Remember, I never want to do Mondays because our library's closed. Is not fair to our staff. Mike, any preference next? Now, keep in mind, the week of Thanksgiving is the 19th to the 25th. I don't know if people go away. I don't know the school's calendar. I don't know college calendars. So I'm assuming maybe that's a bad week for some of you. Okay.
Same here. Yeah.
Wait, the following week
I
or the week?
cannot. Same. I cannot do the 28th if we're looking at Tuesdays, but I can do the 21st.
Okay. I can do the 21st. That's Thanksgiving week. Is everyone okay with that? Val? No Mondays, never Mondays anymore. Okay, how about we do no? Yeah, let's check with. Well, last year.
Sure, I got a lot to do.
I
So
can
we
do the,
sh-
I
we
can
sh-
do the 21st, but don't expect the minutes too soon. After that with Thanksgiving.
Okay, so let's make it November 21st.
Okay, great.
Okay. Okay, great. Thank you, Jennifer. Okay, anything else before we close and do public remarks? No. Nicole, public remarks?
Because I haven't said enough.
Keep going, Nicole.
Anytime. First off, thank you guys. I think we're moving in the right direction. I think it's good. I definitely agree with you need to start small. You can't expect to ever have. It's not working. Oh, there we go. I think that, starting out and taking, I don't want to call them necessarily baby steps, maybe child steps be better, but you're not going to you can't be 100% funded before you move forward. You've got to move forward to know exactly how much you need to fundraise for, what you're fundraising for. Because once you have, and again, I want to caution, the first step with the engineer should be higher level. I think that's what I got out of the planning board. So I just want to remind you to be cautious not to go too detailed like last time. And start there. And then you should have an idea of what it's going to cost. You can say, hey, this is what we need to fundraise for. This is what we're fundraising for. And then, yeah, absolutely reach out to the public. I don't think it's about saying, hey, look what we did, but it's, hey, here's what we're trying to do. Support us. And I think if you have a concrete thing, then you can say, all right, and here's to flush out all the details and move forward. And then you can do that. So thank you. And I hope that's the path we go down because it's needed. One other thing I just wanted to address, and I don't know exactly what you're doing as far as posting to Google Drive and the website, but there are plugins that might make that easier. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to take, we are ending this meeting and we're going to take a literally 1-minute break and go into executive session.